Good morning, and the countdown to Christmas 2020 is on. Today on Spotlight, a conversation with the president of Central Michigan University. How is his organization navigating its way through COVID-19? And we'll also talk today to Dr. Nandi, the chief health editor for Channel 7 Action News. And later on our Sunday morning program, an examination of how 3 Detroit food providing leaders are making a big impact on the health and redevelopment of Michigan's largest municipality, and what lessons can be learned from many other cities, big and small. It's Sunday, December the 20th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. How has Central Michigan University navigated through all of this COVID-19? You know, so much of the talk is about the big metropolitan areas. You're in a small town, but an important academic base for this state.
Yes, we are. We are right here in Mount Pleasant and a major contributor to Isabella County and the entire Central Michigan region. Back in June, we set an ambitious agenda to bring back our students in an in-person environment and set the goal to last the entire semester in that environment. And by golly, we were able to do so. We were able to navigate that through amazing partnerships with our faculty, our staff, and our students, but also, very importantly, with our community members, our landlords, our retail business owners, our restaurant owners, our bar owners, amazing partnership with our city and county officials, meeting with them nearly 2 times every week to have that team effort so that we were able to bring our students back safely.
The students are obviously home on the holiday break now. They left shortly after Thanksgiving. They're coming back when, and what will they be coming back to?
Sure. Well, one of the things I will just point out, we did an amazing job this past semester, and we continue to learn. One of the major decisions that we made is that we started 2 weeks earlier. That allowed us to end right before Thanksgiving. So we're taking a very similar approach with a slight modification. What we're doing is starting on January the 11th, but for that very first week, we will have the students here on the campus for the administrative in-person environment, but the learning environment will be completely remote. That will enable them to have those 2 weeks after the New Year's to really stay within a small bubble. And then we'll have the in-person environment for the entire semester. We have canceled spring break. So there will be no week-long time for the students to travel and those type of things. But we also learned the importance of giving the students and the faculty a day off here and there.
Going forward for your campus, will you require, will you mandate, or will you just encourage people to get the vaccine? What's the plan?
Well, we are working again with our county health officials, the CEOs of the hospitals and medical advisory, and CMU will be one of the areas where individuals will be able to get the vaccine. Of course, we're following the state guidelines for phase 1, 2, and 3, and some of our team will fall within phase 1 because of health providers and frontline individuals, as well as individuals of high risk. Through this entire pandemic, what we have stressed to our faculty, to our staff, to our students, and the community writ large, is to make decisions that you feel comfortable with, make decisions that protect your health. You cannot have a mass decision without understanding the individualization of that. So we will highly, highly encourage individuals to get the vaccine, but that is a personal choice, and we will allow them to make that choice.
Yeah. What do you think the lessons learned have been for your entire community there, particularly for students who come to college to get an education?
A lot of students are talking about this is very difficult, and are they learning? They are learning to make decisions in a very difficult time. They are learning to be able to pivot. They're learning to understand that you cannot make a decision with all of the information because it's always going to be changing. And this is where critical thought, communication, the ability to talk to others and to get others' feedback is so very, very, very important. And understanding that everyone has a different paradigm, and it is more important to listen than always to be talking. And I think when our students reflect back on this and the way that businesses and organizations are going to be significantly changed, that they will have a leg up because they have worked through their ability to communicate digitally, to be able to communicate through these little boxes we're looking at right now, and explain themselves and others in very deep, meaningful ways. And to me, I think that's one of the biggest learning lessons that we all coming away from this.
Absolutely. Dr. Davies, final question. Has this pandemic been so all-consuming that it's difficult for you to be able to plan very far ahead in terms of other goals that you have for Central Michigan University?
So I've really shifted my thinking from, mid-March was very short term, but the community is to think out several months and even now several semesters ahead. And I think that's another part of the leadership, is to entrust your individuals to handle the day-to-day while you have the long range and long view approach. We have to, even especially in this time, be focusing on what's going to happen 6 months, a year and a half, and 2 years out, so that we are in a position to always be successful for Michiganders and the region as a writ large.
All right, Dr. Robert Davies, President of Central Michigan University, thank you so much for checking in with us. I'll tell all of those Chippewa alums that you have running around our building hi for you. And
I appreciate that.
And we'll stay in touch with you as well, and stay safe.
Thank you very much, and let's have a great 2021. Be well.
I'm with you on that. Thank you so much. And coming up, we'll talk to our Chief Health Editor for Action News, Dr. Nandi, right after this. March 13th was the very first interview I did this year related to COVID-19. I can't tell you how many interviews and how many shows I've done since then. So it seems only fitting that that very first interview was with you, that I come back full circle at the end of the year. Look back at this year. What lessons do you hope we as a nation have learned from this devastating pandemic?
That's a great question, Chuck. I think that here's what I would say. It's threefold. Number one, that it teaches us to really work together. In my lifetime, and I don't know if in your lifetime, Chuck, have we ever had a challenge where it really wasn't about me and it really wasn't about you, it's about us. And there are these two parallel stories. On one hand, there's a lot of divisiveness and all this drama about people just not being able to get along. On the other hand, right, the only way we survive and thrive through this COVID-19 pandemic is when we work together, right? Scientists, I'll tell you, scientists, Chuck, that would never cooperate with each other have cooperated on an international level, have come together and really made it happen. The second one is, I think, let's trust science. I think that a lot of folks, because of the divisiveness and some of the rhetoric that's out there, has really forgotten what got us here as humanity. What I mean by that is, what's really helped humanity in longevity. It's really understanding science, it's vaccinations, it's antibiotics, it's medical care, and understanding that the way we live. I talk about it, as being your own health hero. How you live can really predict and really, you can take destiny in your own hands. And I think that people have forgotten that a little bit because there's so much mistrust. That's the second thing. And the third thing is, what's really made it very apparent to me is that, your family, whether it's immediate or if it's an extended family, how important it is and how important that whole tribe and your support system can be for all of us, me included. My family, as I've gone in and worked with patients, and listen, we don't know who is positive, who's negative, and expose yourself. My family, my rock, and my work family as well, has really been instrumental in keeping us together.
What message do you want to send to the general public as they weigh whether or not they want to get the vaccine? Because just because it's out doesn't mean you have to get it or want to get it. But what, as a trained professional, what would you suggest? And particularly people of color who historically have distrusted the government and many other systematic operations.
Here's what I would say. Number one, I'm going to get it, and my family is going to get it. So listen, I would not advocate for the rest of the country if I didn't get it and my family wouldn't get it. And here's why. The FDA is the strongest body in the planet at looking at medicines and new treatments. They are extremely strict, more than others. There have been plenty of medicines that I'd like to give that I can't give in this country that are approved all over the world. The amount of scrutiny that the FDA gave was far more than Europe and far more than most of the world. They looked at the safety data themselves. They have an independent advisory committee that looked at it. And by the way, the independent advisory committee wasn't just a slam dunk. It wasn't just a perfunctory review. They were not unanimous in their approval. So here's my message, especially to people of color. We've got to move forward. We've got to be able to trust our scientists. They have families. They also want to protect. Their main goal is to protect the safety. When there was a safety event in one of the vaccine candidates, the FDA shut it down far longer than the rest of the world. You have to know that we are in this country, the FDA is going to help us and protect us. This
Yeah.
is not a just quick review to get things out there. This is really a safe product that is 95% efficacy. And so to me, I'm confident that it's going to work. And here's the last thing is, how are we going to get past this, right? Everybody wants to get back to normalcy. You're not going to be able to without a significant portion, that's 70% plus of the population having immunity, right? And this is a way we can get there and
Sure.
really restore normalcy in our lives.
Final question, but a very, very important one. HIG Growth Partners and the Center for Digestive Health and Pinnacle GI Partners teaming up. You're going to become the president and practice CEO. What does this merger mean in terms of healthcare, in terms of your own life, and to that average person out there trying to get the best healthcare possible?
The reason why we partnered the Center for Digestive Health with HIG to form Pinnacle GI Partners is to preserve that excellence in care. We want that to be fostered not only in our neck of the woods, but throughout the state and perhaps throughout the country. And so the way to do that is to be able to have a partner that can do some of the things better. For example, get efficiencies in how you manage finances, efficiencies in how you bill, efficiencies in how you pay for things, so then we can be freed up as physicians to practice excellent care. And furthermore, to be able to have doctors like myself be able to experience the kind of environment we've developed in the Center for Digestive Health, where people can be given the freedom to be able to care that way.
All right, eat your Wheaties, put your tennis shoes on, and we'll see you in 2021. Dr. Nandi, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it.
And coming up, we'll talk to 3 Detroit food providers about what they're doing to navigate their way through COVID-19. We'll be right back. Would I be safe in saying that all of you are involved in organizations and efforts to be able to promote food and the quality of food and policies dealing with food in a grassroots type of way? Ms. Bynum?
Yes, exactly. I'm the executive director of the Detroit Food Policy Council, and we work on food policy issues in the city of Detroit. The Detroit Food Policy Council is a advocacy and education organization. We're one of more than 300 food policy councils operating around the U.S. and Canada, and we are a grassroots organization. Most food policy councils come through government action, but ours actually came through community action.
Jen Rusciano, tell us a little bit about your organization. I know that you're very involved with the youth of our city.
Yes, I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Detroit Food Academy, and we are an organization that works to engage young people in culinary arts and entrepreneurship as a way to invite our youth to change our food system and to make our city fit their vision and their values. And we teach cooking and business creation to young people in middle school and high school all across the city.
Jerry Hebron, you're over on the north end there, which has done a lot of development and sort of bouncing back in a very good way for our city. Tell us about your organization.
Absolutely, thank you. I am the executive director of North End Christian Community Development, and we run an urban farm that is 6 acres. And it's all about food production, cultivating people, cultivating community. So we do community development work at the grassroots level. And the tool that we use for that is food production.
This has been the year of COVID-19. It has impacted everything and everybody. What impact has it had on your organizations, and how are you dealing with it? Winona Bynum?
One of the things that we saw early on was the impact with food insecurity, and also our grocery stores. How we really entered into this work was our grocery stores, looking at making them a safer place for people to shop, and for our grocery store employees. So we convened the Detroit Grocery Coalition, and we started working on a safety project. We also were looking at everything that was going on with our partners. Everybody was just hands-on, all hands on deck. So we all are keeping our missions going, but pivoting to make sure that we can address the issues that are impacting the community right now with the pandemic.
We use food as a connector and to really affirm to our youth that their opinions and their ideas matter. We saw when COVID started that, young people are, they lost two things at the same time. They lost their schools and their social connections, and they also, for many of their families, lost their employment and had their health impacted. So we saw youth reaching out for help to spend more time together and also more time cooking. And we have pivoted from an in-person program to virtual and started a delivery service in order to bring kitchen equipment and groceries right to families and students so they can keep cooking and keep connecting at home.
For our organization, we're part of that breakdown in the system, in that our connection to restaurants and chefs, came to an automatic halt. What we saw in March was that the increase of food needs increased because grocery store shelves were vacant and people weren't able to access what they needed. And so for us, we had to make a decision: do we go home or do we continue this work? And we started working with restaurants and chefs to redistribute perishable food items that they had and get that out into community. And so between March and September, we fed over 3,000 people. Wow. Working with chefs and distributing that food.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. And welcome back to Spotlight. Winona Bynum, tell us about how you're working with the SNAP program, the WIC program, and how important are volunteers to your organization?
So our organization mainly runs on volunteer power, first of all. So they're very important to our organization. With SNAP and WIC and things like that, we actually support and make sure the community knows how to connect with SNAP, especially and WIC. Before the pandemic, there were about 40% of Detroiters that were food insecure. That number has increased with the pandemic. We know that. And so we're making sure that people know how to connect with SNAP. They may be newly eligible for SNAP or WIC. And so we're making sure people know how to connect with SNAP, with WIC. And through our project, Food Secure Detroit, we're working just to promote all resources that people are able to connect with. And part of that is working with our partners on the ground and helping to support their work as well.
How much are you working with some of the schools in our area, particularly the Detroit public schools?
We're working with many of the Detroit public schools and welcoming students from all over the district. And we've seen a lot more young people learning about our program and reaching out, hoping for time with other youth to cook, and also for access to some of this really great support for groceries and cooking equipment that we've received through the Food Secure Detroit project. We also run some more advanced programs for youth who are interested in becoming chefs or food entrepreneurs and starting their own food businesses. So we try to have a whole pathway of programs for young people to learn everything from how to cook a simple meal to how to start their own business. And if there's any youth watching who'd like to learn more, you can go to DetroitFoodAcademy.org and use our sign-up form.
We have a campaign to increase our funding to do this brick and mortar development Reds is a historic shoe shine that's been in our neighborhood for 70 years.
It's an institution.
The institution, right. And so we want to preserve that as well as other historical buildings in our community. But because of COVID, we have to rethink how these build outs happen and what they look like. And so we had to pivot and look at the food need and the fact that so many chefs have been impacted by not having kitchens to cook out of around the city because of COVID. And so what our number one priority is the landing, which we work with chefs, and we want to be able to provide a kitchen for them to have access to. And by them having access, the community will have access to working with them to be able to prepare healthier meals. And so that's our primary project right now. That building is the landing. And anyone that wants to support that work can go to oaklandurbanfarm.org and make a donation. But yeah, we are busy trying to provide a space that chefs will be able to have access to.
But if other cities around the state, or whether they're big or small, or other cities in other states are looking at what you're doing, what's one thing that you want to say to them that they can learn from you, that they can implement in their own area? I'll start with you, Winona.
They can connect with us. We're part of the Food Policy Council Network, and so they can connect with us, go to our website. And I just want to say that collective action and working across systems is really important.
Youth have incredible ideas. They are definitely able to help their families eat well and to make food decisions in the home. And when they're included, powerful things happen.
There is an amazing wealth of human capital within our neighborhoods. And so, I am proud to be working at the ground level, and we can do amazing things by identifying where our human assets and capitals are, and bringing them on board to help develop these communities and move towards sustainability.
Ladies, thank you so much for all that you're doing for the city of Detroit and the young people of this city as well as all ages. And best of luck as we head into 2021. Special thanks to all of my guests. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week and a very Merry Christmas.